All right, so hey, people of God, this is Rashana B back with On My Way Up movement. Y'all, I'm back with another word. I want to talk about something. You know, we come from a culture that celebrates having an awesome cutoff game, right? Meaning just cutting people off, canceling people off, cancel culture. You know, we celebrate, just cutting ties with people. I've even done a couple of videos on cutting ties. But I want you to understand that just as it is people or are people that you should cut ties with, there are some people that you do yourself a favor by staying in relationship with or in rapport with or on good terms with. And I want to talk about Abram and Lot. Y'all, I want to talk about this because this is clear about how relationships, good or bad, affect us, or how staying in them or being without them can affect us. And I want to talk about how Lot gained so much favor by just being connected with Abram. Later on, he will be renamed as Abraham. So chapter 12, it talks about God calling Abram out. He's Abram at the time, out of his country. He's to leave everybody behind, get his wife, get his things, and come on, follow God. He's obedient. The Bible is clear. In verses 4, chapter 12, Lot left with him. Abram took him with him. Verses 10, a hard famine hits, right? The Bible reports that Lot is still with him. Now we know that Abraham flourished in the midst of this Egyptian famine. He actually sold his wife to the king, had his wife to lie, say that he was his sister. And the Bible is clear that because the king favored his sister, because she was so beautiful, that Abram was given all kind of livestock, silver and gold. He prospered until the king figured out that it was all a lie and that Sarah was his wife and not his sister, right? The king started suffering all these plagues and everything. So he basically boots out Sarah, Abram. And we know that Lot was with him. All right. So he leaves there. Lot and him are prosperous. They have flourished in the midst of a famine. They have been blessed. Surely the favor of God is upon them. Now we know that the favor of God is upon Abram because God speaks with him and makes with him a covenant of prosperity and blessing upon his life, his lineage, his legacy, his heritage, and so forth. Right. This is a blessed man. Anybody connected to Abraham is blessed. Right. Okay, so they end up parting ways from Egypt and they settle in Bethel, right? They settle in the land of Bethel, right? Which happens to be kind of close to Sodom, right? And it's a reason why I'm talking about that. So while they're there, they start arguing. Their people start arguing. Their herdsmen start arguing because there's no room. They prospered so much, right, that they just literally don't have enough room to contain all that they have achieved or accomplished, right, or all that they have accumulated. So Abraham suggests separation to diffuse the volatility of the situation. He says, look, you're a prosperous man. I'm a prosperous man. I'm blessed whether I go right or left. Pick where you want to go, because this, us arguing and beefing over materialistic things, it's not worth it. You just go your way and I'll go mine, And so they separate. The Bible says chapter 13, verses 11 through 12. In short, they part company and Lot settles near Sodom. He looks up. It looks good. It's well watered. It's green. It's beautiful. It looks like, it's just a prosperous land. And so because it looks good, he settles for Sodom. Okay, now here's the thing though. Verse 13 says that the people of Sodom were evil, flagrant sinners against God. And that's a whole other story that I might talk about in another chapter. Lot has separated from his source of favor. And we know this because immediately after they separate, God speaks to Abraham. So basically, Abram was Lot's favor, but it looks like Lot was some sort of blockade or hindrance for Abraham, because as soon as they separate, the Bible says after Lot separated from him, God speaks. He reiterates his blessing. He reiterates his covenant. But here's the beautiful part. He instructs Abraham to move to Hebron. Hebron is 20 miles away from Sodom. It is 3,000 feet above sea level. It is the highest city in Israel and is set in the Judean mountains. So it's fortified. It's fortified. It's blocked. He's protected. God leads him into protection. Now, God could have done that before Lot separated. He could have somehow, if things could have worked, if it was the will of God and the relationship was the will of God, God could have brought them to Hebron together, set them up in this Judean mountainous range of protection, 3,000 feet above sea level. But no, it was critical that they separated, right? And Lot chose what he chose without any wisdom, without any guidance, without any direction, and without the favor of Abram. He chose Sodom, a city that was full of sinners, that was flagrantly, irreverently disrespectful towards God. And so this is what happens shortly after. As soon as, not even shortly, but as soon as Abraham is led up into the Judean mountains, 20 miles away from Sodom, war, a terrible war breaks out. Verses 14 talks about it. A horrible war breaks out. Three kings against three kings or something like that. But it was several kings. They've teamed up and they are warring against each other. The city of Sodom gets robbed. The city gets pillaged. The women get stolen. Guess what happens? This is the praying man. I just did a video on tactic and strategy and warfare and how to defeat your enemy. This is a man that built an altar everywhere that he goes. He even had built an altar in Hebron. Okay, you cannot tell me that this man did not go before God and ask, was it okay for him to go up? Was it okay for him to pursue his nephew's enemies or his brother's enemies? He sought God. God gave him strategic strategy or strategic tactic. He tells him basically to take 318 trained servants who were born in his house. Why 318? That is something that God had to have given him, right? The Bible doesn't report that he sought God specifically for warfare strategy in this case, but you would have to assume this is a man who builds an altar everywhere that he goes. This is a man that God talks to face to face, right? I just don't believe that this man who left his country, his father, his family, and everything, and just up and left to a land he knew nothing about, did not seek God before he went in warfare to go save his family member Lot, right? Who obviously was a foolish man or unwise man, right? He goes there, verse 16, he goes to war and basically Abram recovers all. He saves Lot's behind, okay? People of God, I know this cutoff game is celebrated, but it's some people in your life you need. Husbands, the Bible is clear that your wife helps you to obtain favor. Okay, so you do yourself a disservice by dishonoring or not loving your wife as the Bible has commanded you. There are some friendships, there are some family relationships, some family members that you need, people of God. Don't always, celebrate this cutoff culture, this cancel culture of just cutting ties with people, cutting people off. Pray before you cut people off, because there are some people in your life that your blessing is riding upon, your blessing is riding with, and there are also some people that you need to let go of. The blessing does not come until you let them go. God did not speak and guide Abraham into safety until after he separated from Lot. So y'all, I hope that this blesses y'all. I hope this inspires y'all, and I will be back with another word. Y'all have a good night.